Okay, hi guys. Tonight we are making Belgian waffles. So here's what you're going to need. Some flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, vanilla extract, milk, and vegetable oil. So this is what we're going to use. Did I say eggs? And eggs. So this is what we're going to use to make the batter. And then anything additional to that would be what you are using to put on top. So I have some meltable chocolate here. This isn't actually true chocolate. It's more like candy melts because the oil content is higher in this than real chocolate would be. That's why this type of chocolate will melt easier. So I'll melt this up and then you can pour it on top of the waffles. Also, powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar is what's traditionally put on top of Belgian waffles. But you could get fresh fruit, really anything that you want, some maple syrup, whatever you like on top of your waffles. And then I also just have a cooking spray to spray my pan with. But this, I would follow the directions on your waffle maker to see if it even needs spray or if it's non-stick. So in addition to this, you will need quite a few different mixing bowls, at least 3. And you will also need a mixer of some sort. So I have my stand mixer here, fitted with its whisk attachment. This we are going to use to whisk up and meringue the egg whites. And then you will need some type of waffle maker. Traditionally, the Belgian waffle makers are going to be those deeper pans. They're going to have a deeper pan. Neither of these are Belgian waffle makers, but they are deep enough that we can get something to work. So you can either use a square one or a circular one. Okay, so the first thing that I did was turned on my waffle makers. I have them both plugged in, that way I can show you both of them. So those are going to be preheating while we're getting our mix together. So the first thing I'm going to do is put all of our dry ingredients together. And I'm going to start with my flour. So I need 2 1/4 cups of flour. And I'm super particular when it comes to baking. So when it comes to flour, you really need exact measurements. And since I don't have a scale and I'm not gonna measure the weight of the flour, I like to spoon and level it. So I'll show you guys how to do that. This just ensures a more accurate measurement. So I'm going to just spoon the flour directly into my cup measurement. This way it doesn't pack down and you get a more accurate measurement of flour. Okay, so once it is pretty full, I'm going to take my knife and take the blunt end and just cut into it this way so that it fills all of the little crevices. And once everything is filled, I'm going to take it and just slide it off. That way I'm left with exactly a cup and it's not packed. So I'll put that in here. I'm gonna do another cup and then 1/4 cup of flour and then we'll be good to go. Oh, I just pre-measured the rest of my dry ingredients, so I'm just gonna add that to here. So I have 1 full tablespoon of baking powder in here. I have 3 tablespoons of sugar. I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a full teaspoon of cinnamon. And now I'm just gonna whisk the dry ingredients together. That way they are all mixed in together and nothing's just gonna clump around. So I'm gonna set my dry ingredients aside for now and get my egg whites going and then my wet ingredients going. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my egg whites going, but in order to do this, we need to separate our eggs. So I'm gonna bring this stuff over here to my stand mixer. And I did use my smaller bowl for this. Camper, I did use my smaller bowl for this just because it's only 2 egg whites. Okay, Cam, off. So if you have an egg separator tool, that would be the best for this. I don't have one, so I am going to show you how to do it if you do not. Actually, let me take this off for now. So what you're going to do, I have my 2 bowls side by side. You will crack the egg and the white will start to come out. You want to hold the yolk on one side of the shell. And then you're going to pass it into the other, and some more of that white's going to fall out. And you're going to do it again until either the yolk starts to crack or you feel like you've gotten enough of the egg white out. So here we are separating our eggs. So quite a big, there we go. So that's pretty good. I've pretty much got just my egg yolk in here. So I'm gonna put that into my smaller bowl, and that's where I'm gonna put the rest of my wet ingredients. So I'm gonna do that with 1 more egg. Okay, so I did that with 2 eggs. I've separated both of them, so I have my 2 yolks in the smaller bowl, and then I have my 2 whites in the bowl of my stand mixer. So I'm going to set this aside because this is where I'm going to put my wet ingredients, and then I'm going to add my whisk attachment to my mixer. As I said, if you don't have a stand mixer, that's totally fine. If you have a handheld, that works perfectly. So we're just going to put this on about a medium-high heat. I'm just gonna put this on a medium-high speed, and then it'll whip up those egg whites. There we go. And we're gonna let that go. Are you still recording? Okay. We're gonna let this go for quite a bit of time, and we'll check back on it in a bit, and then I'm going to add the rest of my wet ingredients to my small bowl. Okay. So we are mixing our egg whites. We're whipping them up until they turn super foamy, so come on over. So this is what they look like right now. So they're not quite ready yet because we're looking for stiff peaks. So it's still just a little sloppy. So they should be able to stand perfectly without falling. So I'm gonna leave it in for just a little bit longer. And turn it off. Okay, so these are pretty good. So that is standing pretty firm, so we look good to go. Notice how it's not dipping back over on itself. It's standing straight up. So those are stiff peaks. So I'm gonna finish up the liquid, so come on over. Right now I have my 2 egg yolks, and then I have a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now I'm going to whisk these together quickly just to break up this egg yolk. Whisk it in just a little bit, just so that it's broken up and liquid. Now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Whisk that a little bit. And then 2 full cups of milk. And whisk all of this together. Now I'm going to take my dry mix from earlier, and then I have my wet mix here, and I'm going to slowly add this into here and whisk it together. So this is still just my egg yolk with the milk, the vanilla extract, and vegetable oil. I'm going to add this in, and I'm going to whisk them together. And we're just going to whisk slowly, just until incorporated. We don't want to over mix the flour. So I've got all of that in there, and I'm just going to whisk it together just until it's incorporated. Okay, so now I'm going to take my batter. This is what it should look like at this point. So nice and light. And then here is my whipped egg whites, which I am going to put into the mix, and I'm just going to fold it in. So I'll show you what that means. Okay, so we're just going to fold this in. I don't need you that close. So we are folding it into the batter. We are just very gently mixing it in. And this is what's gonna give us that super light and fluffy texture. But we don't want to overmix this. So this is what our mixture should look like at this point. It is super fluffy and much thicker. So I'm now going to take this mixture and bring it over to my waffle maker and then add it in here. So I'm just gonna spray top and bottom to make sure that we are good to go and it will not stick. And then I'm gonna take about 1/3 of a cup. I don't think it'll take this much, but this way I just have a measurement. I'm gonna bring it over and spoon it in the middle. And I'll start with this much. Close the lid, and then I'll see how wide that spreads, because you don't want to overfill this or else it'll start to seep out the sides. Okay, so I just let this in for maybe 2 minutes, but I've been checking it constantly. So as soon as it starts to get that crispness on the outside, whenever you think it's done, it's probably good to go. One thing you're gonna need is some Camper Chill is a pair of tongs to remove it. I have these rubber coated ones, that way it's not gonna scrape the inside of the waffle maker. Could probably give it a little bit more time, or you could take it out then, it's up to you. I also moved this round one over here. This one's looking pretty good. You can tell that I can obviously add a little bit more to the pan, so I will do that next time. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this one because it's just about ready. Oops. So you can see the bottom is much more browned than the top. And of course, as I said, these are not real Belgian waffle makers, but this one is quite a bit thicker than this one is. So I will continue to use this one, but I did pop 2 in here, so we'll see how those turn out. So the round one definitely takes a bit more time to cook because it is thicker, but this one is so good. So if you are in the market for a waffle maker, I would try to get the round one with the thicker pockets, because this one you really get that light, fluffy airiness with the crunchy outside, where with this one, they don't puff up quite as much. They're still good, but I would say this one's much more true. If you can get an actual Belgian waffle maker where they're super thick, that would be the best. Okay, so this one, like I said, definitely takes a lot longer. And the other thing about this type of waffle maker, really both of them, is the bottom cooks much better than the top does. Which is why in hotels sometimes you see, and you can buy them too, the kind where it's round like this, but you're able to flip the machine physically. That way they get crisp on both sides. So that's why a stationary one like this isn't going to be crisp throughout. But this one still needs a little bit more time. Okay, so this one is just about done. You can see that it's a lot lighter on top, and as I pull it up, it's going to be much darker and crispier on the bottom. But definitely a super good waffle, and you can see the different air pockets, and that comes from whisking those egg whites.